Hello everyone, FunshineX here. Welcome to my tutorial on Mystcraft, a Minecraft mod all about generating new and exciting worlds to explore. This tutorial will cover how to write your own ages, including all available symbols. And it does contain a few spoilers, so stop watching if you wish to discover the many surprises of this mod on your own. To get started with Mystcraft, you're going to need a lot of books. And a lot of feathers. Oh, wait, not this mod, that was the previous version. You don't need any feathers anymore. Well, maybe just one. All you really need is some paper and some ink. First thing you want to do is create a book that is going to get you home. As simple as taking a book, putting it in a crafting window, and you get a linking book. This will always take you back to the spot you created the book in the same world. The next thing you want to do is create a writing desk. This is very simple. It's created by crafting a desk-shaped structure with wood blocks, putting a glass bottle and a feather on top, and we get the writing desk. Let's put that down in our library. And the next thing you want to create is a book binder. This is a new block with this version. It's created very similarly by taking 5 wood blocks in a desk structure and then 3 iron on top. This will get us the book binder, which is used to bind descriptive books together. Now we're ready to get started writing our own worlds. Before we get to creating worlds, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the changes in case you used a previous version. No longer you have to create hundreds of random ages to discover symbols to get those rare symbols like dense ores to make your descriptive books. Instead, you'll now need to visit dungeons, villages, mine shafts, or any other world gen that adds chests to the game. Some of these chests will randomly contain Mystcraft symbols, and you can also purchase these symbols from Mystcraft villagers in exchange for emeralds. If we take a look at the writing desk, you'll see that the system is completely changed, although you will see some similarities to previous versions. The first thing to explain is how to write a descriptive book with the book binders. This is completely new. In the book binder, you'll see in the top left allows you to name your age. Let's go ahead and call this one My First Age. In the left side, you'll place your leather. This serves as the book's cover and is required to create a descriptive book. In the bottom area, you can add paper or pages. I'm just going to go ahead and add some blank pages, but in the future, we'll add pages with actual symbols on them. Once you have the leather and at least one page, you can create the descriptive book. This one will be completely randomly generated because of this will be very unstable. Pull out the descriptive book and you'll notice it used 1 leather. And just like before, we can right-click on our descriptive book and you'll see the title of the age, but you do not see the symbols even after the world is generated. You can see the pages here will normally contain the symbols. We used blank pages. On the right, the link window is black, meaning the world has not been generated. After we enter the world, it will turn to a gradient blue-gray. In future versions, it will show a screenshot of the spawn area of the world. Click on the link window to visit our new completely random age. Here we go. New worlds will take just a second to generate, and you can see we spawned here and it's quite unstable. We've been given the nauseous effect. Let's go home before a meteor hits us. Back home you'll see our nausea effect is going away and you'll see our book has dropped on the floor. We can just right click it and pick up the book. Let's store it in one of these bookshelves brought to us by the Bibliocraft mod. Let's now check out the writing desk itself and the new functionality. The interface is completely different. On the left side, you can now place multiple notebooks, up to 25 of them. This allows you to sort and organize your symbols. In the top slot, you'll add paper. And in the right slot, you'll add ink vials. Ink vials are created with 1 bottle of water and 2 ink sacs. This is a shapeless recipe. I'm going to go ahead and craft 2 of them. We'll place the vial on the desk and it will fill up the ink bar. This has enough ink for about 25 pages worth. We'll get out the empty bottle here at the bottom. And we can add a second vial, or up to a stack of 16 in the top, that will automatically refill when we run out of ink. You can see in the bottom left slot we have a place where we can put a notebook or a descriptive book. Let's grab that My First Stage book that we created earlier and put it in there. And you can see what the book looked like. And also we are allowed to rename the page here. So even if you incorrectly name your age in the bookbinder, don't worry, you can always rename it. Let's put this back on the shelf. I'll go ahead and throw this ink and bottle away as I don't need it anymore. Now let's start talking about symbols, as there's the most important part. I'll go ahead and go into creative mode. And you can see there's 2 tabs for Mystcraft. This tab shows you all of the items in Mystcraft. And here we see all of the Mystcraft symbols. There are a ton of them. You'll find these from the chests or villagers randomly. As you do, you can save them into your notebook, or give them or sell them to your friends if you're on a multiplayer world. Here's a couple of the symbols. I'll scroll through them so you can see examples. A lot of them are very similar to how they were before, but there are a bunch of new ones. You'll see in the creative spawn there's 2 notebooks, one for a normal notebook and one for a creatively spawned notebook. If we put this in the writing desk in one of these slots here on the left, you'll see it contains all of these symbols for Mystcraft. Some servers choose to spawn in a notebook, usually to avoid having to spawn hundreds of worlds to look for rare symbols, like dense ores. And since it's no longer required, most servers will probably now choose to go with the standard way of finding symbols. In the standard method, you craft a normal notebook, and you'll have to find the symbols on your own. To craft a normal notebook, you'll see it's just 3 leather, so the recipe has changed a bit, but it's not too difficult to create. You'll probably be creating multiple of these because we now have these 25 slots. But as you see, we put it here, it's blank, it doesn't have any symbols. We'll have to go find them. Over in this one, I've created a creatively spawned notebook at the top, and then I've taken multiple notebooks and separated them out and filtered down. So I've got my biomes notebook, just by giving it a name there. I have my biomes, I have my biome controllers, I have my celestial books, I have the different features, lighting, stability, terrain, visual, weather, colors, directions, gradient, length, liquids, materials, and phases. You can see there's tons of different symbols, but it's much easier to have them separated out like this than trying to sort through all of the creatively spawned symbols. So it's up to you whether you'll create a creative spawn notebook that has all the symbols or start from scratch and go look for them in the world. The next topic we'll discuss is age stability. As you use certain symbols, they'll either add stability or add instability, and this is usually based on if the symbol has a good effect or a bad effect. Adding the dense ores symbol, for instance, which makes ores spawn in more commonly, makes your world unstable. Adding the meteor symbol, which makes large meteors fall from the sky, while making your world very dangerous, actually makes it more stable. Adding more biomes than your biome controller expects could cause instability. And so you need to know how to write a good book, or you'll end up having a bunch of ill effects, like the nausea that we had earlier. To get an understanding of how to write a good book, we should go through all of these symbols and see how they affect each other. If you've reached this point of the tutorial, you've either skipped ahead to learn about the new symbols, or you've watched the entire video and you're ready to learn about what each of the symbols does to your world. The first symbols you probably want to know about are the biomes. You'll notice I have a ton of them. Many of these are added by other mods, such as the Twilight Forest or Extra Biomes XL. So if you see a biome that you don't have and I do, it's probably because you don't have one of those mods installed. I am, by the way, using the Feed the Beast Direwolf 20 mod pack, with a few additional mods that I've added myself. Before we choose the biomes, we should learn about biome controllers. If we take the huge biomes symbol for example, Each of the biomes will spawn normally like they do in the overworld, but they'll be much, much larger. This symbol requires at least 3 biomes selected to be stable. And the same thing happens with the large biomes symbol, the medium biome symbol, the small biomes, and the tiny biomes symbols. All take 3 or more biomes to be stable. The native biome controllers requires no biomes. Ignore them even if you add them. This is basically vanilla overworld generation. If you do add biomes along with the native biome controller, you're likely to get instability. With the single biome controller, you only want to add 1 biome. Pretty easy. This generates a single biome that spawns forever. Tiled biomes used to be called checkerboard biomes. It will generate a 32 by 32 block of a checkerboard pattern of 2 selected biomes. And that's it for biome controllers. After you pick your desired controller, then you'll pick between 0, 1, 2, or 3, or even more depending on your controller, the biomes. I'll scroll through a few biomes so you can get an idea of what they offer. Remember that some of these are added by other mods. The major feature biome and the minor feature biome I cannot locate information on. If you have information on what these do, please add them into the comments. My assumption is that they affect the frequency of the feature symbols. The next thing to look at is the celestial bodies, and this determines how your moon, your stars, and your sun will look, along with how many of each your world will have. Yes, I said how many. You can have multiple suns. The dark versions of the symbols mean they will not show, so if you'd like to have no moon, no stars, or no sun, use these. You can use the normal versions and modify them with other symbols that we'll see later. The Ender star field replaces all your stars with the same star field that shows in the end. The next thing to look at is the feature symbols. Most of these existed before, so you've probably seen them, but they include things like caves, crystal formations, dungeons, glowstone formations, huge trees, lakes and lava lakes, mine shafts, nether fortresses, obelisks, ravines, skyland star fissures, strongholds, tendrils, and villages. Rather than explaining what all of these will do, I'd rather just show you. So I have a descriptive book here that I've added each of the features symbols to. We'll go ahead and travel there now. You can see it's a pretty crazy world, and it's actually very stable. You can see things like the glowstone crystal formations, Mystcraft crystal formations, lakes, large trees, wooden tendrils. Tendrils can be modified to be made of other materials, and we'll see how to do this later. And you can see we have nether fortresses here in the overworld. I think that's pretty cool. If we dug down, we would see standard things like caves, mine shafts, and ravines. And if we traveled far enough, we'd probably run into a lava lake. These refer to the lava lakes that normally spawn at the low levels of the world. Here you'll see a thing known as a star fissure. These normally spawn very close to your spawn, and if you jump into them, they will take you back to the overworld's spawn location. This is very handy if you somehow lose your linking book in one of your worlds. Simply jump into here and you'll be back in the spawn, your overworld. The next thing you'll want to do is determine your lighting. You have choices between bright, dark, and standard lighting. Standard gives you the same lighting as the overworld. Bright makes all areas appear bright even without torches, and dark they'll appear darker than normal. Both symbols do note that they do not affect how mobs spawn. So even though an area appears to be bright in a bright world, mobs could still spawn. The next symbols are really fun, and these are our stability effects. These are things that either add stability or add instability to our world, and all of these can be stacked multiple times to increase their effect. Accelerated causes extra world ticks to occur, and this can cause things like plants to grow a lot faster, for instance. This does add instability. The dense ore symbol is very, very uncommon and adds a lot of instability to a world, actually, but it is very useful as it makes ore spawns much more common. The clear modifiers is a symbol that was put in to help you if you add extra modifiers to a world that are not needed. It basically clears out any extra modifiers before their next symbol, so it's very useful to use in certain cases, which we will do later. The charged modifier causes lightning effects to randomly strike the world. This adds stability to your world, but it makes it a little more dangerous. The charged lightning can light wood on fire, or damage a player if it hits them. Meteors, while being very dangerous, as they cause large meteors to crash into the world, add a lot of stability. When the meteors crash, they sometimes add stone, gravel, coal, and or gold around the crash site. Scorched surface adds stability in exchange for lighting anything on the surface of the world on fire, including mobs and or the player. And the last symbol is spontaneous explosions, these adding small TNT-sized explosions to the world occurring randomly in exchange for some stability. The next section is the terrain generation for the world. The cave world will be similar to the Nether, where you've gotten enclosed in a cave with no access to the surface. There's a common bug, however, where the player will spawn above the cave and it'll appear to be in a flat world. If this occurs, just dig down to reach the cave. Another common bug in previous versions where if you combined this mod with red power too, you would get a crash when the world generated because of marble generation. This appears to be fixed. The end world will look just like the end, spawning a single floating island of terrain inside a void world. Flat world is just that, a single super flat world with no mountains. Standard terrain is just like your overworld standard generation. And a void world is a completely void of all blocks, except for a small landing platform so you don't fall to your death. The next symbols affect the visuals of the world. And the first symbol is the boundless sky, which removes the fog along the horizon. This is great to use in combination with a void or a sky world, as it allows you to see the sun and the moon and the stars as they dip below the horizon. The next few symbols allow us to change the color of the clouds, the sky, the sunsets, and the fog. You can change the color of the sky for both the night and the daytime. These require another modifier for the actual color, and we'll see those later. The rainbow adds rainbow to your sky, but is currently bugged. The next section we have is weather. Eternal rain enables a constant rain even in biomes that don't normally rain. And eternal snow is similar, causing to snow in all biomes. Eternal storm, same thing, thunder, lightning, and rain in all biomes. Always. Eternal weather will cause normal weather per biome to occur. Always. While fast weather will cause normal biome weather to occur, but it will shift rapidly between different effects. No weather is very common to use because it will prevent all weather. Normal weather will give you the normal effect as the overworld. Overcast will affect all biomes and make them overcast even if they normally rain or snow. And slow weather will give you normal biome weather, but it will shift very slowly between weather effects. Let's next look at the color symbols, which by themselves are not very useful. Instead, these symbols are used to modify other symbols, such as the terrain symbols. So for instance, if in the terrain symbols we chose a sunset color, we could then use a color symbol in front of it to modify what color the actual sunset will be. The colors that we have available are black, blue, cyan, green, magenta, red, white, and yellow. Next, we'll look at the direction symbols, which are again modifier symbols. These can be used to affect your celestial bodies, where they spawn or rise and set. So you can have a sun that sets in the north, rises in the east, and another sun that rises in the west, sets in the south, and a moon that does completely opposite. So again, we just have the typical cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. The gradient is a single symbol. It allows you to combine multiple colors together to create a nice gradient between them. This can be used for your nice sunset or a beautiful sky. The next symbols are modifiers, and they are length symbols. These are quite complicated and not documented very well in the wiki. They basically affect a percentage of the day and night cycle. So if you wanted to make your day shorter or longer, you could use these symbols. You can combine them together to create various lengths. A double does not actually double the length of the day, though, so it is not completely useful. You'll more likely mixing together the half symbols and the zero length symbols to get a shorter length of day or night cycle as you wish. If you combine two half symbols, you'll get a 1/4. Combine a full with a half and you'll get a 3/4. Combine a half with a 0 and you get a 1/4, etc. The zero length on its own will cause the modified cycle not to move at all. Basically an eternal day or an eternal night. The next modifier symbols are the liquid symbols, and these affect other biome symbols and replace whatever the standard liquid is in that biome with what you choose. So for instance, you can replace the ocean with lava, or if you were in a hell biome, you could replace the standard water liquid, which is lava, with water. The no seas modifier would completely get rid of all water or lava. Other mods plan to add their own liquid modifiers such as oil, honey, or things like biofuel. Next, we have the materials modifying symbols. These are solid blocks that replace or change the formations of other symbols as the world generates. So for instance, you could take birch wood and put it before the tendrils symbol, and this would make the tendrils generate with birch wood instead of oak wood. You could do the same thing with nether brick, for instance. Each of the material has a various instability scored based on its rarity, so things like diamond and gold would make your world very unstable. But they do add a little bit of overpoweredness, so many servers will probably choose to disable some of these symbols, unfortunately. It is not well documented, but each symbol is tied to either a terrain modifier or a structure modifier. Or symbols, for instance, cannot be used to modify the terrain generation, but rather the structure modification of a feature. So you can't do something like having your entire world spawn with iron ore. You could, however, have an entire world of glass. And the last set of symbols are the phases symbols. Again, very difficult to understand. Similar to the length symbols, they're used to modify the celestial bodies and how they move. If you had 4 suns all set to the same length and direction, you could use phases to make them spawn at different times. So you have 4 different suns going across the sky at 4 different times. They combine with each other 2 at a time, so you have the end, which is basically the very underneath you, the bottom, kind of like at midnight, noon straight up above you, rising at sunrise and setting at sunset. So if you combine a setting time with a noon time, you get somewhere at about 3 o'clock. If you add another noon, it'll modify the 3 o'clock again by about a quarter, so you get somewhere around 1:30. Combine this with the 0 length, and you will have a sun that is exactly where you want it, and it won't move. You could do the same thing with the moon. So play around with the phases and the length and the directions to get a bunch of celestial bodies that move across your sky, and very crazy. That's about it, guys, for the symbols. Now you know how to use all the symbols. We can start making some stable worlds. Let's do that next. Now that you know all about the symbols available to you, let's learn about how to write a descriptive book, as this has changed significantly from the previous version. You've already seen how to add ink bottles to the writing desk. But do know that you can pump in ink using Buildcraft pipes, red power fluid pipes, or thermal expansion liquiducts. To start creating symbols, make sure you have your paper up in the top left slot. And each of these will be consumed when you create a copy. So if I wanted to use the native biome controller, I'd go ahead and select it here, right click on it, and you'll see it creates a copy over here in the writing desk, which I can then pull out, and I can now use it in the book binder to create a descriptive book. So if I want to do another different type of biome controller, like maybe a medium biomes controller, I'll go ahead and create a copy of that one. And go into my biomes, and let's pick a few biomes here. Something like the extreme hills. You gotta make sure you pull it out. Get the forest biome, and maybe an enchanted forest biome. Now I could go ahead and go on over to my bookbinder and simply drag these pages into the window. Remember to use the modifiers first, so I'll put all my biomes first and then the controller. Now I could pull this descriptive book out now, but it wouldn't be very stable because I haven't added enough symbols. So let's go back over to the writing desk to get some more. So the next thing I'll choose is the celestial bodies. I could use the dark versions to have none, or just the normal ones. So let's go ahead and grab a normal moon, normal stars, and a normal sun. I don't need anything else as far as features of stability, terrain generation, so I'll go ahead and just grab maybe a few colors. I want to have a green color, a red color. Let's get a magenta color. I'm going to use those as modifiers on my sun, stars, and moon. So let's have a magenta sun. How about some red stars? And a green normal moon. And I haven't used any of the length or time modifiers, phase modifiers, or direction modifiers to determine where these stars and sun and moon, so they'll most likely just generate in a random location, random phase, and a random length. Okay, I'll make sure before I use this descriptive book, so I've got to have another book to get home, so I'll get a link book here. And let's go check out our age. You can see right away that the red stars did in fact work. And our moon and our sun are nowhere to be seen at the moment. We did generate here in an enchanted forest biome, so that definitely worked. Alright, we're back in our normal world. As you notice, as we start to create more and more worlds, it's going to get a little more complicated to create all these pages and keep track of them, and they take a lot of room in our inventory. They're also very difficult to just tell by the symbol what kind of biome is, so you have to mouse over each one. So let's make it a little more easy on ourselves to generate these worlds. If you check inside this writing desk, I've created a notebook that I've named Standard, and it contains a bunch of pages that are just standard generation type modifiers. So I have things like the native biome controller, pretty much the standard colors for all the cloud sunsets and generation, normal celestial bodies, normal weather, standard lighting, and standard terrain. So if I wanted to generate a descriptive book that was pretty much stable, standard generation, I could easily go to this one and just copy all these pages. Now I don't want to do those all individually, so I've got another notebook here that I'll put in my writing desk and make sure I have plenty of paper and ink, and now I can just start right-clicking these symbols. And you'll notice instead of generating the individual page, they'll put them inside the notebook for me. They don't take up room in my inventory, and now I can just quickly right-click on all the things that I want. So let's get the normal celestial bodies here, normal weather, normal lighting, and normal terrain. Now I can take this notebook out, and if I open it here, just by right-clicking on it, when I've selected, you can see it has all of the pages that I added to that book, and I could move them around or store them this way, and I don't have them in my inventory taking up room. And I can also add additional ones to it. So let's add Bound the Sky, some dungeons, and I think that's all I've got in here, these pages. Let's go get another one. Maybe go into stability here, and let's add dense ores. And I can just put that one right in there. And now I could copy those all out individually into my binding block. Or I could just take the notebook here, pick it up, and drop it there. And all the pages are emptied out of my notebook into my desk here. And I can just take the descriptive book out really quick. Or if I haven't, and I decide, oh, I'm not ready, I make a mistake, just take the notebook, left click here again, and with an empty notebook it'll pick up all of the pages and put them back in. So it's a really easy way to transfer your pages into your binding desk. Alright, so I've gone ahead and created a few books here on this shelf, and I want to show you what the worlds generate based on the symbols that we use. So let me grab all these books out of here. I already showed you the all features book there. Yeah, let's go ahead and grab all of these. And the first one that I'd like to show you is one called All Stability, and basically has all the stable and instability effects combined into one book. I better get into creative mode or I could die pretty easily here. Alright, so we'll go ahead and go in here. And if I went out of creative, you'd probably see I would get nauseous and mining fatigue and poisoned maybe, a bunch of different effects. And as the world generates, we might see some meteors crashing down. Oh, there was a random explosion there, lit that tree on fire. Keep watch. The worlds take a little bit longer to generate in Mystcraft with all this stuff going on. Just saw a lightning bolt there. Let's watch for a meteor. Sometimes they blow up behind you and you miss them. You can see a sheep there caught on fire from the scorched earth effect. And it's a random tick, so they don't always catch on fire. And if they manage to hide under a tree, then they can live. I'm not seeing any meteors here, so let's just keep watching. I've turned the sound all the way off because these things are very loud. You probably couldn't even hear me talk over all the explosions that are going off. Alright, so here a meteor went off. I didn't actually catch it on camera because I was looking the other direction, but you can see the effect. You get a large explosion, much larger than TNT, and it creates all these blocks around the crash site. So you get some gold, some iron, some coal, and a bunch of fire. Some pigs off there burning. But I haven't been able to catch a meteor on film. They're sneaky little things until they come and land on top of your head. Alright, let me keep looking for these meteors to show you guys. Oh, there we go. There's a meteor. You see that big black thing? It was actually quite a ways off in the distance. Let's go look. Just another crater. Fire and iron and coal. So those are pretty cool. Very dangerous. If you dug down under the earth, you'd probably be safe for them, for at least for a while anyway, until they blew up enough terrain. Oh, there's a nice lightning bolt there. So you can see instability is not all that bad, actually. I'm not too afraid of it. Alright, so let's check out the next world. It's called the Bright Cave World. And basically it's just got native biomes, standard, all the celestial bodies, and normal weather, but I've given it the Bright for my lighting, and Cave World for my terrain generation. So this should be pretty stable because I've got one of each of the main primary features. And you can see it looks a lot like maybe your netherworld would look, except instead of netherrack you've got normal terrain. If I go ahead and just dig up here, I'm in creative mode, so I can just fly way up here and get up to level 127 or higher. You can see that it's like a flat world up here with normal duration, and this sometimes you'll spawn up here. So if this happens, just dig down and eventually you'll hit the cave layer. And it's pretty easy to tell if you look at your height level and you see either you're 127 or above. You can have, basically tell that that's happened to you. So yeah, I think these cave worlds look really cool. You'd basically be unaffected by any of the effects of like scorched earth because you're not in view of the sky. I don't think meteors could get to you anyway for a while either. These worlds do take a little bit longer to gen as you fly around. The red power bug does seem to be fixed. You can see the marble here generating fine. So that's good news. I haven't had a crash yet generating a cave world. Yeah, so that's cave world. Let's go ahead and go home. Let's check out the next world. Pick this guy up here. This one's just a flat world, very easy to check out. It's just a flat world forever. A little bit of a hill right there. I think that's a Thaumcraft world generation. A mound, I'm not sure. So, but yeah, everything else is pretty flat. That's pretty much all I want to show you there in case you hadn't seen a flat world before. Oops, wrong click there. Alright, the next one will be an end world, but this is not using endstone. This is using normal generation, so you'll see we'll get this kind of floating island in a void here, which looks pretty cool. Probably could have made it cooler if I got rid of the fog and I used the Ender Star field. But yeah, it still looks pretty cool. It's like this floating island. It's almost like a Skylands, but it's just like a single block. It'd be pretty cool to do an LP on with. Maybe you'd probably need a Clove Exchange to generate all your ores though, or something, because you wouldn't have enough of them. Okay, get rid of the end world. Let's go check out a void world. This will be really quick. It's just a void, nothing else. But this one, you can see the sun. You can see it below the horizon, which gives it the effect that you're up above and kind of floating in space. This guy there is the clouds. Probably don't need them. They're kind of have the wrong effect, so I'd probably get rid of them. And if I made this world again, if I look over here, there's this little thing that generated. And this is actual Mystcraft world gen. I didn't know this even existed, but I saw it and I was like, I wonder what this is. And you go inside and look, lecterns with pages on them. Hooray! Cool. So if you find these, you can come in here, steal the pages, and look, you've got a huge source of books. Someone told me if you break bookcases, there's a random chance that they'll drop Mystcraft pages. And I believe that was just a troll. As you'll see here, I'll go ahead and cut a bunch down and I don't get any pages. So it's either a very low chance or it actually is not the case. So, oh well. But at least if you see one of these structures, you know that you can just simply hop on inside and grab a few pages off these lecterns. Alright, so let's... Oh, forgot I'm not in creative mode. Hurry, get my book, get the book, get the book. Yes, made it. Just in time. Okay, back to creative mode. Alright, a couple more books to show you. These are going to deal with the color modifiers. So I've got one called... What did I call this one? Rainbow Blue Sunset. So let's look up the modifiers here. Just the native biome again, normal celestial bodies, standard terrain. I've got the rainbow and blue sunset. Let's go ahead and jump in there. And you'll see the blue sunset, which is pretty cool. Just on half the world. If you had multiple celestial bodies, you get multiple sunsets. And you can have them all be different colors. And here is our rainbow. I don't know about you, but that looks bugged to me. It's possibly just an incompatibility with one of the mods that I have, but yeah, that's not a rainbow. Sorry, try again. I'll just assume it's a bug for now, and hopefully they get that fixed. So let's go ahead and head back home. Check out another book. This is called the Cyan Sky, Red Sky, something like that. So this is cool. Here in the daytime, we've got red sky or cyan sky, and if I switch it to night, we've now got red sky. Pretty cool. I'm not sure how this would be affected if you had multiple suns, multiple moons. Maybe it'd make a mix of cyan and red. Let's go to the magenta fog world. That's pretty cool. We got a pink sunset and pink fog. And then the last one I want to show you is the yellow clouds. Looks pretty cool. Gives the game a very cartoony feel. These bright yellow clouds. Come on, head home. So that's pretty much all the worlds that I want to show you guys. In a future video, I'm going to go ahead and concentrate on the celestial bodies. Those will take probably their own video, and this is already getting pretty long. So if you guys have created some cool worlds with a lot of interesting celestial bodies, go ahead and send me links to them. I'll be interested in checking them out. And then I'll create another video on how to create, multiple suns and moons and have them move differently or stay stationary. So that would be cool. Check out that video. That will be released pretty soon. And to wrap up this video, I'll go ahead and go over one more time how to create a stable world, because that seems to be the biggest question on the forums. So the easiest way to do it is use the native biome controller. This means you don't have to worry about your biomes or your biome controllers. Just you'll get standard biomes. You won't have instability from your what you choose as far as biomes. If you don't use the native biome controller, you've really got to be careful on how many biomes you choose, and make sure to list them before the controller, as the order does matter. So with the native biome controller, make sure you use 0 biome modifiers. If you're going to use the single biome, then choose obviously 1 biome. The checkerboard, use 2, and everything else you're free to use 3 or more for the huge, medium, large, small, and tiny. The other things you want to do is make sure you always use at least 1 sun, moon, and stars celestial bodies, so either use the normal or the dark versions. And if you're using normal, you should probably also give them a color, give them a direction, and give them a phase for each of them. That ensures that the generator will not just give them a randomly assign something to them, which does add instability. But as you saw in those test worlds, I was just adding no colors, no phases, no directions, and I was getting stable worlds. You also want to at least add 1 weather, 1 lighting, and at least 1 terrain. So just go, if you don't want to add anything, just go standard, and normal, and you should get a nice stable world. So start with that, and then add other features that you want, other additional celestial bodies, additional things that add stability or instability. Know that if you add accelerator dense ores, you'll never have a stable world. There'll always be some sort of instability, but you can lessen that by adding things like charged, or things like scorched earth surface. If you're going to be digging most of the time underneath the ground, then scorched surface, might as well add a bunch of those because they're not going to affect you. If you're going to be farming and never digging, then don't worry about mining fatigue if you get it. And if you have things like a quantum suit, then you don't really care if you get poisoned or nauseous, do you? And that will pretty much end up with a nice stable world. Make sure you don't add extra colors, that don't apply, or extra modifiers. So if you don't have just like this red modifier sitting in the middle of nowhere, if you do, if you're worried about that, then come into your it's not in features, it's in stability section here, and grab this one called clear modifiers. That one's going to, if you have any extra modifying symbols that haven't applied or don't work, then put this at the end, and it's going to get rid of all the dangling ones that would have normally caused instability. So yeah, probably want to include a clear modifiers on any world that you're unsure of. If you've added colors or phases or directions or lighting or anything other than other modifiers. And I think that's it, guys. That's going to do it for FunshineX's tutorial on Mystcraft. Again, I will do another video that shows how to do the celestial bodies in more depth. So if you're confused on directions, phases, and all that kind of stuff, just wait for that video. And here's good luck to you guys in creating nice stable worlds to use in your playthroughs. Mystcraft is a really cool mod. It's one of my favorites. If you haven't used it before, I encourage you to add it. Check it out. It's really easy if you use the Feed the Beast mod packs in the Direwolf 20 pack. It's already there for you, configured, and using the latest version. This has been FunshineX. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.